Hi there, today I'm going to be sharing a tutorial on how to paint paper to look like shibori patterns. Shibori is an ancient 8th century art form from Japan, and you will see it used in a lot of different modern textile designs and motifs. There's a great way and a fun way that you can test this out using I use rice paper, but you can also use like really sturdy tissue paper. So I love these papers. Once I've created the patterns, I love to use them for collage and cards. They even make really beautiful wall art and you can frame it. So depending on what kind of paper you use, you'll want to avoid any like thin tissue paper because it tends to fall apart. But if you have like the really thick stuff that you can get at some different, even some different department stores carry it, you can give it a try with that. So hopefully you'll enjoy the tutorial today, and let's get started. All right, so the first thing you want to know about shibori is it's all about the folds. So the first kind I'm going to demonstrate is actually how I create a grid, and this is like a piece of indigo dyed linen. That's my other specialty. So this is just like a simple modern grid pattern, and I think it can be really beautiful on rice paper. So first thing you're gonna do to kind of estimate how much room you're gonna need is you're gonna maybe fold it to the center line. That's because you want all of your pleats to be really even. And then we'll go ahead and fold this up to the center line here and all the way across. We'll do one more all the way to the center line and then fold it all the way across. So you can see that my paper here, and I'm working with a little half sheet, has about 4 pleats or 4 accordion folds. And that's kind of like the premise of shibori. So once you get that, you can play with variety in different sizes. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start folding it the other way on the grid. And again, I'm just gonna do a fold right in the middle because I wanna make sure that I estimate really evenly, and sometimes it can be hard to estimate. So traditional shibori is actually a clamped shape resist to create this grid. So I would use like a rectangular shaped clamp or something like that. Today, since we're painting and we're testing it out on rice paper, we have 2 choices. We can follow the lines with our watercolor paints, or we can kind of dip it folded. So what I'll show you first is the dipping technique, and then I think we'll decide, so I'm just gonna set that there, we'll decide which one we like the best. So I wanna get a nice deep indigo blue. So I'm gonna put some water here on my brush. I'm using a filbert, like a bigger brush, because I'm trying to pick up a lot of color at once. You could also use a flat brush for this. So I have a nice ultra marine. I'm gonna grab a little cobalt, and this is my Winsor Newton palette. It's my travel palette, actually. I love the size. It's like nice and small and easy to carry around. There we go. I'm pretty happy with this. Now again, I wanted it kind of a lot of water so that we can dip the edges in. And this is actually something that you do when you dye things with shibori. So what I'm gonna do is I might wet a little bit just because I know my rice paper can take a lot of water, most likely. I'm gonna wet it, and then I'm gonna dip it and let it kind of travel up the edge of the paper. There we go. Nice. Ooh, beautiful. I'm actually having to use the edge of my palette here so that it's nice and deep. Ooh, and let's do another way I could probably wet it. I haven't done this in a while. I usually love to do this with my art students, and they come up with the most beautiful, vibrant patterns. Another way is to paint it on. So that's what you'll see I'm doing here. Painting it, you have a little more control of the pigment, and you can tap in some darker, some lighter. But I think my favorite thing about the rice paper and even the tissue paper is the way that the color travels. So let's go for it. Let's do the third side of the rectangle, and we'll open it up and we'll kind of see what effects we've accomplished here today. So like I said, I like to use this kind of paper. I think it makes beautiful wall art, backgrounds for paintings, you know, for cards, for collages, all sorts of different things. So again, when a dyer does shibori, they actually fan it open to make sure that all of the layers are penetrated kind of by the indigo. So what I'm going to do is just hold it to the side so that I can see, and you can see how the color is traveling. So this is really kind of fun. Nice. And then just check all of the edges before I open it. I think the thing that I hear the most in my workshops, which are in LA, and I do some on Zoom, some virtual, the thing I hear the most is like the excitement that people have like right before we open a piece. Now here you can see it didn't really penetrate, so I'm glad that I'm wetting this out a little bit and checking it. And of course, if you have deeper palettes or containers, you can dip corners in. You can try different things. When I do this with my students, we dip the corners in and we test out a lot of different things. I don't want to make the paper too weak, so if you're using tissue paper, you're going to have to be a little more delicate with it. And again, only the really thick tissue works. Unfortunately, I've tried it with thinner tissue. Doesn't really work as well. It kind of tears apart. You can try with paper towels if you're doing this with kids and you don't necessarily want to invest in the rice paper. Another fun thing to use is definitely paper towels. Okay, so this is exciting. The rice paper is sturdy though. That was kind of one of the points that I was making. And let's just open it carefully. This is like the most exciting moment. And we can see what kind of pattern, grid pattern, have we achieved. So go ahead, be really gentle. And of course you can let these dry out and kind of flatten them under something. Ooh, super beautiful. So a really nice, pretty blue shibori. And then of course, if you'd like to, you can take a round brush. This is a 10 or even a 6. And you can go in and just tap in a little extra color if you'd like to play around with your results. So I can't wait to see what you create from this today. Be sure to comment if you try it, or you can even share it with me over on Instagram. My Instagram is Hilary L Hahn, and I'm always resharing your work and all of the beautiful things that you create. So just following along those lines there. It's actually really super relaxing to make these. So that was fun. Thank you, and I'll see you next Monday with a new tutorial.